Every Disney live-action remake is so unique. They each find their own special way of insulting every one of your senses. I thought The Lion King would forever be the remake I wanted to rewatch the least because it's so lifeless, but I'm gonna share why that's changed in this Mulan 2020 review. Let me address one of the biggest factors first. This movie is so boring. Yet somehow, like every other remake, it's longer than the original. And the other elephant in the room, this is not Mulan. Mulan had personality and flaws, which she was able to mend and accept by the end because she learned different skills throughout the film. She wasn't a perfect warrior to begin with because that erases the significance of everything she does later. Without even speaking and in a 3-minute song, we see Mulan has more personality than she does in the entirety of the remake. Remember when Disney used to be clever like this when introducing their characters? Mulan is smart, she looks out for others. 2 important facts they show us, not beat us over the head with the explanation. The opening also goes over the fact that Mulan now has a sister for no good reason at all. I thought they'd fall in the cliche where she's so perfect and it makes Mulan envious, but no, they've gone along perfectly well since they were kids. What's the point of her being here if she's not even going to be a foil for the main character? I guess a foil doesn't exist for this Mulan though because she's so perfect and good at parkour. These effects look terrible and are so out of place. The original story progresses so well because they have a strong call to action. We just pass through all of these really important moments and they have no meaning because Mulan doesn't know how to show emotion. There's also this weird inconsistency with the way the dad talks about Mulan. He constantly mentions how she's not ready to face the world, but in all of his narration, he's saying how perfect she is. In the original, the dad could clearly see Mulan struggle in finding her place. She was trying to bring her family honor but found it difficult to do so. Here, she's so perfect so there's no need for concern. And we don't get any humor or personality from the side characters because they're just as boring. Mushu is a girl for some reason, and a phoenix in case you didn't notice. A fact which doesn't help the story at all. It's one thing to remove his character because the comedy didn't fit, but this Mulan desperately needs someone to share her thoughts with because she certainly isn't doing a good job on her own. And they continue to mindlessly move through a lot of important scenes because Mulan is so perfect she doesn't need training. According to practically every character, she's the best warrior they've ever seen, so I don't even know what she's doing here, besides making it painfully clear that she's a girl. Seriously, there's no way she hid her secret in this one. At least in the original, she cared enough to sleep in a different tent and was dedicated enough to cut her hair. And in case you haven't been following what's been happening in the movie thus far, it constantly interrupts your thoughts with mindless narration that comes right the heck out of nowhere. And in case you haven't been following the formula for these live-action remakes, they always remove the emotional weight of these really important scenes. It feels like they're just checking off boxes instead of letting the characters really go through these moments. Mulan walks up this mountain like it's nothing. That's her big challenge in this one, and it's not even a challenge because we know she's perfect. If you go back to the original, this is Mulan's turning point. After all the effort she's put in, she's being turned away, but then she proves herself. The remakes also like to add things just because. I mentioned her sister, but there's also a witch who they excitedly promoted in every teaser for this film. However, she does nothing but help sell this weird chi concept, which they never clearly define. They keep going back and forth on whether it's more magical or spiritual. Kind of like the Force, but only perfect warriors have it, and these people are seen as outcast even though they have all the power. It's true that at any moment this witch can kill this guy who's supposed to be the main villain. It's a weird, unjustified addition, but they still try and make you care when she totally out of nowhere sacrifices herself for Mulan. I don't even know why she needed to die. She could have just pushed Mulan out of the way. Her sacrifice means nothing because she only started building a relationship with Mulan like 5 minutes ago. I'm putting relationship in quotes because it was only the 3rd time they've spoken to each other. So I don't know why they thought I'd care. Mulan doesn't even look like she cares it happened so fast. And in terms of other changes, this whole battle is a mess. The biggest thing is that no one witnesses Mulan's heroic act in starting the avalanche. So there is no reason later on why they should spare her or thank her for saving China. Nobody really saw her fight at all. So I don't know why they think she's worthy of this praise. Unlike in the original where there were thousands of people that witnessed her saving the emperor, and the only reason Shang forgives her is because she saved his life. She earned their respect and trust. Mulan specifically asking for their trust in this scene is important because it helps challenge their judgment. Even though she saved them, they have this prejudice towards her. Clearly though, Disney thinks there's no prejudice in the world. So Mulan can lie all she wants, straight up reveal herself, and have no consequences for her actions. There is no such thing as an imperfect female character anymore. The end. Except not the end, because I didn't touch on this movie's biggest problem. Mulan's motivation isn't defined at all. That's what makes a film incredibly boring and removes all the stakes because she doesn't reveal what she's fighting for. We see it in the original in this very powerful call to action scene. This is what gets her going. She has a reason to fight and shares later on she really was doing all of this not just to prove it to her dad or bring honor to her family, but to do it for herself. She wants to feel worthy. The matchmaker says she's not. She doesn't feel she's worthy in the eyes of her family, so she runs off to be the strong, independent woman she is, and we get a great movie from her trials growing physically and mentally stronger. They continue to play the reflection theme in the remake, which feels incredibly manipulative because this Mulan doesn't reflect on anything. She hardly seems to feel any remorse for messing up with the matchmaker, and again, since they emphasize that she's already a great warrior, she doesn't need to learn to fight. So why is she even doing this? What is she trying to prove? She left without a clear motivation, so it doesn't seem like she's doing it for her dad, and she knows she's strong, so she's not doing it for herself either. They overplay the song in the background, but if you never saw the original, it would mean nothing. Reflection and these other I Want songs sung by these other strong characters emphasize their inner struggle trying to obtain whatever it is they're lacking. It's important to hear and see what your main character wants. Be it that they want adventure, they want to prove something, or they just want more because unlike this robot, there's always something else out there. You're not born perfect and you're not always going to be satisfied. There's something out there they want and then they go be the strong characters they are and go get it. Anyway, I didn't like this movie, and I don't know what Disney's problem is because they sometimes like to make the remakes a shot-for-shot replica of the original, and other times they try to do something different, but they don't go far enough with their ideas, so they just make things far more complicated and confusing. I guess it doesn't matter which option they choose because we always end up with something terrible. It's a real insult to the original, all the people that worked on it, and all the talent they could hire to make something new, but instead we get this every year. I don't know, maybe they'll eventually make something original I will like. Or maybe not.